Welcome to this very special press conference. I'm Ariel Helwani. We're here in Midtown Manhattan. We have an absolute bevy of press in attendance for what is going to be a really, really unique press event. So, by now you know, December 18th, Tampa, Florida, Amalie Arena. It's going to be Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury. These two have been circling each other for quite some time. There's been a war of words. It's going down on Showtime pay-per-view at the home of the Stanley Cup champion, Tampa Bay Lightning. You know by now that Amanda Serrano, one of the greatest female boxers in history, will be competing on the card. She is, in many people's eyes, one of the best pound-for-pound fighters as well. She's going up to 135 to fight Miriam Gutierrez in a very important fight that could lead to an even bigger fight come 2022. You know that two undefeated, young, all-action fighters, junior welterweights, will be fighting on this card. Liam Paro going up against Yomar Alamo. Two guys who are getting a big opportunity to fight on Showtime pay-per-view, one from Australia, one from Puerto Rico. They'll be meeting in a 10-round junior welterweight bout. You know, in the prelims, we're getting Chris Avila versus Anthony Pretty Boy Taylor, a rematch of a Bellator fight that happened back in January of 2020. They'll be meeting in a boxing match. It's going to be Team Paul, Anthony Taylor, against Team Diaz, Chris Avila. That's going to be a lot of fun. Of course, this is on Showtime pay-per-view. It's being produced by Showtime Sports and Most Valuable Promotions, promoted by Bryce and Tony Holden. And of course, will be available on Showtime pay-per-view via your regular linear pay-per-view provider, also streaming worldwide digitally. But here today, my friends, we are here to talk about something very special, something very unique. On Saturday, December 18th, at the Amalie Arena, which, by the way, tickets still available. They're going fast, as cheap as $25. You can get them now, amaliearena.com. We're here to talk about the NBA versus the NFL in the squared circle. You've got former NBA All-Star Deron Williams, two-time Olympic gold medalist, former point guard for the Utah Jazz, the Brooklyn Nets, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Dallas Mavericks, going up against former Pro Bowler, number 3 all-time leading rusher, most games played as a running back, the one and only Frank Gore, former San Francisco 49er, former Indianapolis Colt, former New York Jet, former Miami Dolphin, and near dear to my heart, former Buffalo Bill. Go Bills Mafia. NBA versus NFL in the squared circle. This has never happened before. These two guys are making their pro boxing debut. 4-round fight, 3-minute rounds. Pro boxing debut, heavyweight fight, 215-pound weight limit, two superstars meeting in the boxing ring, pay-per-view opener, Saturday, December 18th. You're not here to hear me talk, you're here to hear these guys talk. So I'll ask them some questions, media will ask them some questions, and we'll have a great time. We'll also be joined by Amanda Serrano as well. Guys, great to have you here. Thank you so much for the time. Deron, I'll start with you. Why are you doing this? How did this all come about?
You know, I've always been drawn to combat sports. You know, grew up wrestling, first sport, wrestled all the way up till high school, and I've always been a big boxing fan, big MMA fan, and part owner of Fortis MMA in Dallas, Texas. And I've done a lot of training there over the last 6 years. And I think this is, I've always wanted to, you know, I had the idea of maybe doing a fight, maybe an MMA fight. I actually had one right before COVID hit. That I was training for and was in training camp for, and then my opponent pulled out. And so it was always kind of in the back of my mind, and I've stayed in shape and I've stayed training. And I got a call from Nikisa, who I hadn't talked to in 5 years, and said, you know, Frank Gore has been training and is looking for an opponent, and felt like it was a great opportunity. You know, one of those opportunities that comes along, and if I didn't take it, you know, I feel like I'd be kicking myself for not jumping on that opportunity for the rest of my life. So, you know, here I am.
So, Frank, I follow you on social media, and I see you working out in that ring. I see you doing your thing down in Florida. I've been told that every off-season you've done some boxing training. Why are you doing this?
Well, basically for the same reason. You know, I always loved boxing, especially I started doing it since 2005, my first time getting drafted. You know, I was doing it because to save my legs, because I play running back. You know, I was doing it for cardio, and I just fell in love with it, how hard it was, and I'm very competitive. When I first went in, I felt like I couldn't even fight. And I just kept doing it and kept getting better and better. And I told my boy, you know, during the summer, you know, when I didn't go to training camp, you know, being around my kids, and I started being around the guys in Sweat Boston Gym every day, and they was just like, man, you got the basic, you should, you know, try to get a fight, since they seeing like all the Jake Paul stuff going on. And I started thinking about it, and I called my boy Malky, and I was like, hey, you know, I think I might want to take a chance to see what I can do in there. And December 18th, here we go.
Yes, Malky Kawa, MMA super manager, who's right over there. Hello, Malky. How are you? Frank, you know, a lot of people would see a match like this, you versus Deron Williams. Oh, you know, two athletes, they need the money, they need to do this thing. You were just playing in the NFL a couple months ago. You're good, right? You're not doing this for the money.
I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed. I've been blessed with, you know, football, off the field stuff. Like, man, I'm blessed.
Okay.
I'm blessed.
I saw you in his comments. He had a video up there, and he was like, who wants this? And you wrote, you know, something to the effect of, you know, I'll take it. I'll be there. What do you think of his training videos that you saw on Instagram?
No, Frank looks good, you know, and that's the whole thing is like if I was going to do a fight, I'd rather do it against somebody who's, you know, capable, who's been training, who's, you know, who's a challenge. And
Right.
I mean, the man is tough. There's no doubt about that. You don't get that many snaps in the NFL without being tough. And so, you know, like I said, this is a good challenge for me, and it's something, you know, that I can check off the bucket list.
You are tough, no doubt. Last I checked the odds, Frank, you are an underdog going into this fight. Plus 185, minus 225
cool.
for Mr. Williams. How do you feel about that?
I've been an underdog all my life, man. I've been raised in a one-bedroom apartment with 12 people, and I overcame that, man. So I'm okay with that. I've been an underdog when I blew out my knees, saying I won't make it to the NFL. I overcame that. They say I've been in the NFL 3 years, 16 years later, third on the NFL all-time rushing list. So me hearing underdog, I'm cool with it. You know, that's what made me drive and give me that drive I got today in life. So I'm cool with it, man. I'm happy to be here. I respect Deron, man. I respect this game plan, NBA, and like I say, man, any guy who willing to get in the ring, man, got to be tough. I don't care what sport he play. You know, got to be different. So December 18th, I'm training my behind off, and I'm going to be ready.
We'll get a good look at the size difference when you guys square off, but there is a very noticeable height differential here. Do you feel like that will be to your advantage come December 18th, Deron?
You know, there's pluses and minuses to being tall. You know, I'm sure he's going to try to get inside, and so definitely want to use the length to my advantage, and that's, you know, part of the game plan.
And just curious, your brothers from the NBA, have they hit you up a lot about this? Like, what are you doing, man? We're back. You know, like, what's been the reception when this news came out?
There's all type of reception. You know, there's all type of things. You know, but you know, for the most part, everybody's behind me. You know, there's been some people like, you're fighting Frank Gore. What are you doing? What are you thinking about? But you know, that's okay. You know, there's a lot of unknowns in this fight, and I think that's what makes it exciting. You know, he's been training for years. I've been training for years. You know, I've been doing a lot of MMA, but a lot of the work that I've done is boxing. And so, you know, it's not new to me. I've sparred with a lot of guys from our gym, a lot of killers from our gym, and you know, I'm excited about this challenge.
Last thing from me for now, Frank, I see a lot of people commenting on this fight. You know, we've seen NBA players fight. Sometimes it's not the most graceful thing on the court. Of course, the NFL guy is tougher. What do you make of that?
I can't look at it like that. You know, like him training MMA, you got to have some type of toughness. You know, and I'm not looking at no NBA, whoever Nate Robinson did. This man different. He been doing MMA for 6 years, so I got to respect that. He been wrestling since he was a kid. I got to respect that. So, no, I'm training my behind off. The only thing I can do is worry about me, though. I'm training every day, and I'm looking for the challenge, man. And let's go on. Best man win December 18th.
Yeah, I remember going to Dallas maybe 5, 6 years ago when Fortis MMA first opened up, and Saif Saud, your head coach, showed me around, telling me that you were training there. I know a lot of the guys from the Mavericks have come through as well. So this man, no stranger to competing and martial arts. And of course, if you just follow Frank Gore on Instagram, you will see that this man is no stranger to the squared circle as well. All right, let's take some questions from the media in attendance. I believe, yeah, all right, go ahead.
Deron, Andrew Crane from the New York Post. You mentioned, your time when you were younger in wrestling up through high school. When you look back at those days, what were some of your first kind of impressions of the sport, and what are some of the moments that maybe stand out to you the most from those days?
Well, my first year of wrestling, actually, my mom asked, I was 5, and she asked me if I wanted to wrestle, and I was like, okay. I'm 5 years old. I didn't really know what it meant. And I spent the whole season being dragged on the mat by her crying because I was scared to go in there, and she was like, "Well, I already paid for it, so you're gonna do this every weekend." And so I pretty much went out there crying, got pinned, walked back off the mat, and did that for a whole year. And then the next year, I don't know why, but she asked me if I wanted to wrestle again, and she just expected me to say no, and I said yes, and then proceeded to do that for about half of the season before something finally clicked where I was just like, I'm not going to do this anymore, and I kind of turned into a little animal. So I think that year and a half of getting beat up and pinned every time out on the mat kind of made me tougher. And wrestling is a tough sport, and it was a great base for me. I'm really glad that I did it, for such a long time, and was able to compete, win 2 state championships in Texas as an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old. And I would have loved to keep going. I really would have, but it's the same season as basketball, and so I had to stop when I got to high school.
Andres Gomez, Cornerman Boxing. I have a question for both combatants. Which fighter made you fall in love with boxing, and who do you like to study, to learn from?
Well, my favorite fighter is Floyd. Right now, in this generation here, it's a bunch of guys who I watch a lot. I like Terrence Crawford. I like Sean Porter. I like Errol Spence. I like Tank. Shakur Stevenson. But I just want to, man, be the best of me. Whatever my coach tells me to go out there and do, I'm gonna do it to the best that I can and try my best to get this win December 18th.
Growing up, I loved to watch the heavyweights, of the 90s. I loved to watch, Tyson, Lennox Lewis, all those wars they had, Holyfield. I think it was just a special time in boxing. And there was still other fighters, but those were the ones that I was drawn to. Those were the ones that, I got most excited to see.
Scooby Axon, USA Today. For both guys, what is the toughest part of the training? Is it the technical aspect of boxing, or is it the diet you have to adhere to? What's the toughest part?
I would say jogging, man, because playing football, we never jog. We all sprints, pull sleds, and I had to train myself to really jog, to put my mind somewhere else to keep going. But I would say the toughest thing for me is jogging. And also, when he probably feel the same. When you're the top guy in your sports, and now you went to another guy's sports, but you got to train with them. It's like, man, they don't care about, you the football player, and you got to get in the arena and spar, like, they're not taking it easy on you, and they just pounding. You got to stand in there and go back and forth. I'll say that kind of tough too.
Yeah, I'm with Frank on the running. I ran 4 miles yesterday. That's 4 more miles than I've ever ran in my life in one continuous go. It's just not it wasn't a thing for us as well. More sprints and shuttle runs, suicides, things like that. So it's a different level of cardio, and it's just a different feeling. It's basketball or football for him. That's our comfort zone. We're comfortable with that. We're comfortable with that work. Fighting is getting out of your comfort zone. It's learning to get hit in the face and sitting there and walking through it and being okay with it. And it takes some time. It took me, a couple years, and so, You know, it's that challenge. We keep talking about challenge. It's a new challenge, you know, as athletes, and especially, you know, I've been retired for 4 years now. You know, you miss competing. You miss having something to train for, something to you know, look forward to. It gives me that.
Darrell Jazz Johnson, question for both of you guys, but particularly Deron, because you were with the Brooklyn Nets when Showtime had some big fights at Barclays Center. What are your moments, memorable moments from attending fights in person, if you attended any big fights?
I just how packed it is. You know, me when I went to Floyd fight. You know, just
Which one?
when he fought, man, who he fought? I forgot who he fought. But the Floyd fight, it was, you know, the crowd. Even this last Jake Paul and Tyrone Woodley, man, it was nice. It was a nice night, and I like that. You know, I like when everybody watching, man. It just made me, you know, get on and be ready.
I've only been to a couple boxing matches. I actually like to watch. I like to watch everything at home. I'm a homebody. I like to have people over, have fight parties. I like to hear the commentary. You know, see Ariel doing the post interviews.
Yeah.
Hear what he's saying. But I think the last fight I went to might have been Floyd against Hatton. It didn't last very long, but I was there. I was there.
This question's for Deron. Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you.
My man, so you being a former Net, you're in New York City, and curious to know, have you been paying attention to the Nets and their team as constructed? And I wanted to get your thoughts on Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, I've been paying attention a little bit. I haven't watched too much, but you know, I've been kind of preparing. But from what I've seen, you know, they're still a good team without Kyrie, but they definitely need him. You know, they definitely need him, and you know, I hope everything gets figured out. But as far as my thoughts on Kyrie, I feel like he's doing what he feels is best, you know, for him, and I can't feel any otherwise. You know, I have to respect what he wants to do, and you know, that's the country we live in.
Question for Frank. What is harder, to take a hit in the NFL and then keep playing, or take a hit in boxing and then keep on boxing? And then a question for both of you. How's the transition going from a team sport to a one-on-one sport?
Well, I say football and boxing is totally different. You know, especially for me. When I came out of my mom, I was a football player. When I came out of my mom's womb, I was a football player. And you know, when you watch my game, you got to really watch it. I really never got hit. You know what I'm saying? That's why I was able to last so long. I play off angles. You know what I'm saying? Now, with boxing, you know, even though I was around it for since 2005, you know, I'm still learning. Now I've been 8 weeks. I'm going into an 8-week camp, you know, and sparring against guys who've got 300 amateurs fight, 10-0 pros. It's different because, you know, they know more than me. So I can't dodge some of the hits that they throwing because they got more ring experience than me. So that's been a difference.
He also was asking difference between a team sport.
Oh, and the team sport, you can hide behind other guys. You know, in football, it's 11 on 11. You know, you could take a play off. Boston, just you and the next man who on the other side of the ring, and you got to stay ready all times. And that's when you're in the gym, you got to think about that. And that's how I've been thinking.
I guess a follow-up on that question for both of you. What's the biggest mental adjustment you have to make going from competing in a team sport to boxing when you're the only one out there?
I think, you know, for me, it's the same thing. It's like with basketball, that's my comfort zone. It's everything comes natural. Now, you know, I'm in a sport where I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to soak up everything in a 6-week time period. And so it's kind of like getting thrown into the fire and having to adjust. And you know, it's definitely a challenge. again, I keep talking about this challenge thing. It's a challenge I've accepted and I'm looking forward to.
I just wanted to ask a quick question. I'm liking the hair, Deron. What's the inspiration? We're going with the, yeah.
I don't know. It's just something I did like a year and a half ago. I was bored. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So something I was just bored one day and
Nice.
was like, you know what? I want to dye my hair blonde. And I did it and I liked it.
YOLO.
So I kept it.
All right. Before we bring up our special guest, just want to ask you guys, Frank, I'll start with you. Is this a one-off for you, or are you now entering the boxing world? I've been hearing you have aspirations of other guys, maybe not looking past Deron, but what are we thinking?
I just want to see how December 18th go.
Okay.
And I'll go from there after that.
What about you?
Same thing, man. You know, 37 years old. Like I said, this was an opportunity that came to me out of nowhere. I jumped on it. You know, I want to focus on Frank, and that's as far as it gets for me.
All right. I mean, George Foreman was a heavyweight champion in his 40s. I'm just saying, you know.
When did he start, though?
Minor details. All right. So, great stuff from both men. Now it's time to bring up our special guest who will also be competing on December 18th, co-main event. You saw her back in August, co-main event of the Jake Paul Tyron Woodley fight. She is one of the very best fighters on the planet, dare I say, regardless of gender. Not only is she competing in boxing these days, she's doing great stuff in the world of mixed martial arts as well. She is one of the best pound-for-pound fighters on the planet. She is fighting Miriam Gutierrez on Saturday, December 18th. She is the pride of New York. She's the one and only Amanda Serrano. Amanda Serrano looking fly with those glasses as well. Well done.
And guys, don't be ashamed because running is still hard for me too.
What was that?
I said don't be ashamed because running is
Yeah.
the worst part of training too.
Okay, so Amanda, you've been there before. You haven't lost in almost a decade, undefeated as well in MMA. What do you make of this situation, NBA versus NFL in the squared circle? How do you feel about it?
It's very interesting. You know, you have great athletes, awesome athletes, and they didn't just start yesterday. Hearing them, they've been training for years. They understand how it is to be in a sport, to be champions in any other sport. And I'm excited to see this fight. You know, we've had boxing versus MMA. Now we have the NBA versus the NFL. So I'm interested.
Would you happen to have any advice for both men? You know, they've competed on the biggest stages, right? But this is a little different. Any advice for their debuts?
Just don't abandon anything. Stick to the basics. 1-2s, and just have fun. Enjoy yourself in there. This is something new. Enjoy every minute of it. And this is your stage. It's your night, and enjoy it. Have fun.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I will anyway. Do you have a pick? Who are you picking, Frank or Deron? Come on.
God, you know, these are two amazing athletes in their sport. They come into a new sport. So I am a Brooklyn girl, but let the best man win.
Okay, all right. I see where you're going with that. A lot has changed for you over the last few months. You've teamed up recently with MVP, Most Valuable Promotions. You're now part of Team Paul as well. You were on that card in August. That went great. Now you're fighting Miriam Gutierrez, co-main event. I couldn't help but notice, correct me if I'm off base here, you're moving up to 135. You're no stranger to fighting there as well. Miriam's a great fighter. Looked at her record. Last year, her lone loss was to someone named Katie Taylor. Is this the fight that gets you the Katie Taylor fight?
Well, this fight, I believe, is more important than the Katie Taylor fight because Miriam is a tough girl, 135. It's not my natural weight class. I'm moving up 2 divisions. So I have to get through Miriam Gutierrez in a way where people are going to want to see and compare me to Katie Taylor, and then the fight with Katie Taylor will happen.
That would be gigantic, perhaps here in New York as well. Any questions for Amanda Serrano?
Amanda, how challenging has the move up in weight been for you?
You know, it's funny. People ask me, and I said I'd rather lose the weight than to gain the weight. It's so hard for me to keep on the weight because once I start training and running, I drop it. So I think maybe maintaining 135, eating a lot. I'm eating a lot of good food. I had to hire a nutritionist for this camp to make sure that I'm up in weight and I'm strong. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just moving out of my weight class, out of my comfort zone. But you know, I'm a little girl, but I pack a punch wherever I go.
Champ, how you doing, Champ? So my question is, with everything you've accomplished in your career, other than the Katie Taylor fight, what goals do you still want to accomplish in your boxing career?
Well, definitely the Katie Taylor fight, but that night could be the same night where I accomplished my goal of becoming undisputed champion. And I want to do that to be the first undisputed champion coming out of Puerto Rico. And that would be an amazing, amazing night. That's two birds with whatever. Yeah, that would be amazing that night.
Right, and do you still have any goals in the MMA world as well?
Definitely. Right now I'm concentrating on boxing because I have 2 big fights. So in the future, I definitely want to become an MMA champion. But boxing right now, it's my main goal.
Another question for Deron. Jason Kidd, your OG, you being from the Dallas area, now coaching. Have you got a chance to watch the Mavs? And what do you think about his transition from Brooklyn to assistant coach with LA and now head coaching in Dallas?
Yeah, I mean, I had a chance to talk to him a couple months ago, and have seen some games, and they're playing pretty well. I think he's going to maximize that roster, and there's no doubt he's a great coach. He's always been a great basketball mind, and I think him being with Luka is going to help that whole situation flourish, and I think they're going to be pretty good this year.
I just had one more for Amanda, if I could. Clarissa Shields recently went over to MMA and won her debut, but then lost her second fight. Does that now make you higher than her on the pound-for-pound rankings? Or, I mean, because you're undefeated in MMA?
Well, I mean, pound for pound. I mean, I think that's is a matter of opinions. Some people think I am. Some people think she is. It's a matter of opinions.
Katie's fighting in December as well. Do you feel like this is the closest you've been to finally making that fight? She wins, you win. Hopefully next year you guys tangle.
Yeah, she actually fights the week before me, so she has to look good. I have to look good, and I think that fight is going to happen. I'm training really hard for Miriam. I know she's a tough girl. I'm just going to go out and be the best that I can be, and I think the fight with Katie Taylor is going to happen.
All right, I think we have one more question. Go ahead.
Amanda, what does it mean to you to be co-main event on this stage?
It's amazing. This is my second time being on the card of Jake Paul. I'm super proud to be part of the MVP promotion with Nikisa and Jake Paul. They treated me amazingly, and I'm just, Jake Paul, he brings entertainment. No matter where he goes, he's very entertaining. The fight with Tommy Fury, this is going to be his step up. 2 undefeated fighters, they're going to go out, and whoever wants it more is going to win that night.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for the questions. Thank you to everyone watching at home. We're not done just yet. We're going to square these guys off. You're going to get to see the height differential that I was just talking about. Nikisa Badarian of MVP will be here as well. Thank you so much to Deron Williams. Thank you so much to Frank Gore. Thank you to Amanda Serrano. And thanks to all of you. December 18th, Tampa, Florida, Amalie Arena, home of the Stanley Cup champs. You could see these two guys. They can't wait to square off. This is great stuff. And so we'll let them do their thing. NBA versus NFL, December 18th. Pro debut for both men. 2-time Olympic gold medalist Deron Williams against Frank Gore. You want me to join the group? Here I am, yes, okay. Okay, let's get the, is the stream still going, yes? Stream still going, yeah? Cool. We've got Saif Saud here of Fortis MMA, Malki Kawa of First Round Management, little MMA influence in this boxing match as well. Fortis MMA, one of the best teams in mixed martial arts, known worldwide, out of Dallas. And of course, Frank training out of Florida as well. So again, December 18th, Amalie Arena, AmalieArena.com, Showtime pay-per-view, Jake Paul, Tommy Fury, Frank Gore against Deron Williams. It all goes down live and only on Showtime pay-per-view. Thank you for watching. We'll see you all in December.